Friends, good day. Despite we employ the best management system in every discipline involved in construction and project management, there is always a question of why most of the projects are not achieved on time. Excluding the question on the delivery of materials, the issue of manpower, and the use of equipment, tools and equipment on site. Friends, let me tell you that as long as the management cannot exercise control over all those elements, the question of progress not coming on time, the project that is not delivered on time to the stakeholder, to the end users, the question is always on the issue of one of the element of management, which is control. When it comes to manpower, an organization can exercise control over them in terms of supervision, and if some suppliers maybe fail to deliver the right manpower on time, you have the control of selecting or outsourcing any agency that can deliver us the right manpower needed for our project. So control over manpower is not an issue because you can immediately outsource if your own manpower is not enough. Materials, if the materials is needed next month, you can make the order today and deliver it on and before the time that you need to use them. Now, in the approval of material, the project management can easily identify when to send the specification of material to be approved right on time before when it is needed. You need to have your own schedule of when to raise the request for material approval so that the procurement and delivery will be managed. So again, you can exercise control over it. I'm talking here of manpower, the materials, and what about tools and equipment? Tools and equipment can be managed by your plant and machinery department. If you need some excavators next week or maybe tower crane the following month, then you can have the schedule of approval of equipment on time before the time when you need them and provide the necessary requirements in terms of requirements by the clients for operators and supervisors. The third-party certifications, you can send your request before you need them. So again, the control is there. I am talking again of some equipments that your company, that in the assets, in the list of plant and equipment of your company, it's not available. Then in the market, you can find suppliers as well. So that means if you know how to strategize the approval so that you can make the necessary rental arrangement with the equipment, it can be made on time. Again, the moment you have the resources at your disposal, whether it is your own machinery, and if not, you have the list of those prospect suppliers before you need them because you need to raise the request for approval, and at the same time, the moment you get the approval on time, there will be an inspection on time before it will be delivered, and once it will be delivered on site, the foundation of the tower crane, the erection system, whether you are going to outsource it with some agency to do that. Now, I am talking here of um, manpower, which you can control. Because I would like to discuss only one element of the project management. All right. We talk of manpower. We talk of um, uh, tools and equipment. All right. We talk about material. But there is one thing that we cannot control of. Now, most of this material, equipment, and manpower, a company or an organization can take control of them. But there is only one element that we cannot own and we cannot even control. That is why I'm speaking to you right now that the failure to deliver the project right on time, because there is one element that any organization, not anyone in this planet, can control. You can take control of manpower. You can take control on the approval and delivery of material, understanding the speak. You can take control of your tools and equipment. But there is only one thing that you cannot control, that we have to understand all of this. Because there might be some questions that why we employ all this discipline and yet we don't get the delivery of materials, the allocation of resources, and the number of manpowers we have in the construction industry. And yet, we have all those disciplines, and at the same time, we cannot get the target. We cannot hit the target on the delivery and completion of the project. Because, my friend, we need to know that there is one element that we cannot exercise control over it, and that is time. The time that nobody in this world can control. Nobody in this world can control when there will be rain. Nobody can control when there will be storm. Nobody can control what happens tomorrow and the days to come. That is why some of the commentators finds it that all these disciplines, while we have the control, while we have the Primavera application, while we have the planning department to take control of the phases of the project, and yet some of the projects are not hitting the expected completion. While we are true that we are having control of some of these elements, including manpower, machinery, and equipment, including materials, but we cannot control, we don't have control, we cannot exercise control on time. If time is an element and we cannot control over it, then that is one of the factor and consideration if and when a project cannot be delivered on time. In line with the same subject, that there are projects cannot be delivered on time for some reason, because we don't own, nobody owns, and it is beyond the commerce of man. Time is beyond the commerce of men. What we need to have is only manage our activity in the right time, because nobody can control time. If time is given as a matter of element, since we cannot control and we cannot own time, we need to manage all resources, material, and equipment on time. Similarly, in occupational health and safety, it is also applicable. Not only this subject matter is applicable in understanding for the purposes of project management, but it is also applicable in managing health and safety in the project. You cannot own time, you cannot control time, but we can manage material, equipment, and manpower within the time frame. But because of this management, we have all the targets, the quota, and the expected time of completion of the project. According to some expert, that all of these applications are just an attempt. This is just only an attempt to manage manpower, equipment, and materials to be delivered on site, and it will be erected and installed. So take note that if it is true that all of these techniques, all of this discipline get into the project, according to them, this is just only an attempt to manage time, to manage our activity within the time frame. So, what is happening in that presentation, that if we are going to understood it that way, that time would be more constant and material, manpower, and resources are need to be managed within that period of time. Then all of these things, all of this discipline, all of this execution, all of this timing, all of this schedule, all of this whatever applications that your project management, that your planning engineering, that your construction program, all of these things are just an attempt. This is only just an attempt to execute properly of what are resources that are available in the organization, under the organization's control. Because of the issue that time cannot be owned. Nobody owns time. Nobody can control time. Nobody can predict what happened within that time. So friends, how this relate to occupational health and safety? This is now becomes a challenge to all of us. Since the organization cannot own time, cannot control time, and cannot even predict what happens next within the time frame. All we need is to catch up with the challenges of time, to anticipate the challenges of time. That is why we have risk assessment. You can also have a quick look into the business continuity management and align your action according to that, because despite we do not know the finest details within the time frame, still we have that predictable circumstances that you can manage and consider it as a factor in terms of delivery of our health and safety target. Now, the general details of each day, each week, and each time, maybe we do not know. But there are some point that your materials and equipment, including your manpower, will get affected by such circumstances. Now, perhaps it is the right time for us to look into our risk assessment, how we predict the unpredictable. Let it be the challenge of coming up with the finest details of each time. Even if we don't have that understanding of what will happen in the finest details of each day, each week, each month. However, we can manage our provisions of health and safety, our safety arrangement, our risk assessment can be reviewed to anticipate the expected event within that particular time. Leave those things that cannot be predicted. Leave it to the privilege of time, because time cannot be owned and time cannot be predicted on its finest details of what happens next week, and what happens the finest details of each month. This is only my presentation, and I would like to expand this presentation only as a form of mental calisthenics among us in this industry. Thank you, and once again, good morning.